Hey guys, happy Monday. Thank you for tuning in once again. Sernesta Sue. I'm under a bit of a time crunch, so we're gonna jump straight into this intro, and after the intro, we're gonna jump straight into this critique. If you guys want to submit your image to be critiqued, please join our Facebook group. It's called Fine Art Photography and Modeling. In that group, I created a specific thread where you could submit your images to be critiqued. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing a critique of this gentleman's photo. I cannot pronounce your name, so I'm not going to try to because I do not want to butcher it. So from this point forward, I'm just going to refer to you as the image creator. So let's jump straight into this image critique. And the first thing we're going to start with is light. Light is very important. And actually, I just want to point out one thing. I'm hoping that you guys are noticing over the course of all of these image critiques that the order in which I critique these images, first thing I always start with is light. Now, when I approach a photo shoot, I approach the photo shoot in the very same manner. I start with light, and then I look at the pose, then I look at the composition, and then I look at any other thing like expression and, well, obviously not post-production, but I look at these major things, which is the light, pose, composition, expression. Try to figure out what is it that I'm trying to express to the viewer with my image. So when I'm critiquing the images, I'm critiquing it like I would approach a actual photo shoot. So I hope you guys are taking note of that. And I hope when you do your photo shoot, you actually approach it in the same manner as well, if it's helpful to you. I know it's helpful to me, so that's how I approach the critique. That being said, let's talk about the lighting. So when the image creator submitted this image, he also submitted some information about the lighting setup in this image. So for this image, it was a 3-light setup as well, just like the previous critique that we did. However, in this image, the light setup is slightly different. He has a softbox on camera left, and then he have a softbox on camera right. He also have a hair light behind the subject. Let's analyze the lighting setup in this image and focus on what's good and how we can enhance it just a little bit better. Now let's talk about the 2 lights on camera left and camera right, which is the soft boxes. The soft boxes appear to be outputting the same amount of power. And when you're doing a portrait or any type of lighting setup really, you always want to have a main light source. So with the light on the left and the light on the right, which is camera left, camera right, you will notice that it's producing a nice little catch light in the subject's eyes, which is awesome. I love catch lights. It makes the subject's eyes come alive, which is perfect. So great job there. So now let's look at the other light. The other light in the background, which is the hair light, which is creating nice little separations of the subject's hair and the background, which is great because you would need that when you're dealing with a black background. You would need that little bit of a separation. So again, awesome job with that. So now let's look back at the first 2 lighting setup and figure out how we could enhance the lighting setup to make this image a little bit better. When I approach a portrait, the first thing I always do, especially when working with artificial light, you never know how many lights you're gonna start out with. So I always start out with 1 light, which is gonna influence most of this image. So I start out with that light, ignoring every other light, because you could start out with 1 light, end up with 20 lights. But you always start out with 1, which is your main light source. And in this particular image, since you have 2 soft boxes, my suggestion, start out with the 1 main light, which would be on camera left. Take a test shot review the image, look at the image and see how that light is influencing your subject. Then take a step back and say to yourself, do I like what this light is doing? If you love what the light is doing, great. Then you move on to the next light. After you take that step back and you're reviewing the image, you as the image creator now have to decide, what is it in this image that is missing? And how can I make it better, right? Is that an additional light? Is that a different pose? So you as the image creator need to decide what direction you want to take this portrait. So my suggestion would have been, after you take that first test shot with the first light, take off that light, then turn on the other light. Take a test shot with that light on and see how much that light on camera right is influencing your portrait. If that light is influencing your shot too much, reduce the power output on that light so that the light doesn't influence or compete too much with your main light, okay? So when I look at this image, that's exactly what I see that's happening, is the light on camera right is competing a little bit too much with the main light, which is causing the subject to flatten out just a little bit because there's no depth or dimension in the image. You need a little bit of shadow on the left side, which is camera right, of the subject to add a little bit more depth and dimension. So when I look at this image, that's what I see that's missing. If I was taking this image, the first thing I would have done would have been to remove that light on camera right and use maybe like a reflector on camera right to help just fill in the shadows a little bit on that subject. So that will be the first thing that I would do with respect to the first two light setups in the front. So the first thing I'm about to do, leave the main light and add a reflector on camera right to help fill in the shadows just a little bit. So great, we're happy now with the light on camera left, which is our main light, and we're happy with the reflector just adding just a little bit of detail in the shadow area on the subject. So now let's take a step back and now let's analyze this image and try to figure out how can we enhance it just a little bit more and figure out what's the problem areas that's in this image that will help it just a little bit more. So now looking at this image, the other thing that I think it would need to help enhance this image just a little bit more is a little bit of separation of the subject from the background. Now the subject is wearing black, the background is black. So right now the subject appears to be blended into the background. So the first thing I would try to do is the light that I'm suggesting to eliminate that's on camera right, I would take that light and put it directly behind the subject. Now once that light is behind the subject, I would then take off the light that's on camera left, which is what I'm suggesting to be the main light. I would take that light off and only leave on the light that's now directly behind the subject and facing towards the background, not on the subject, but facing towards the background. That light behind the subject, we don't want that light to be blasting all over the background. We want it to be a little bit concentrated. So what I would suggest is you put a grid on that light in the background. Now, once you put that grid on that light in the background, it's gonna help concentrate that light and create a little bit of a spotlight behind that subject. Now, go back to the camera, fire off another test shot with just that light on only. Then you fire it, and then you look at the image and you say, am I happy with the results of this light? And if you're happy with the results of that light, great, leave it exactly where it is. So now let's talk about the hair light behind the subject. So right now the subject is here. This is our subject. Imagine that's our subject. And this is our hair light. This is where I'm thinking the hair light is right now, right? So instead of the hair light being here, my suggestion would be to elevate that hair light up a little bit. Now, once you elevate that hair light up a little bit, that's gonna help eliminate that highlight that we are seeing right now behind the subject. Because that highlight is a little bit distracting and it's the brightest part of the image and it causes your viewer to go straight to that highlight. You want the viewers to connect straight to your subject's face, not the highlight that's behind the subject. Again, take all the other lights off, test the hair light, and if the hair light is exactly the way you want it, wonderful. leave it exactly where it is. Now go and turn on all the other lights, which is your main light and the background light. And now your hair light is on. You still have the 3 light setup. That 4th item, which is the fill card, that helps add a little bit of detail to the shadow side of the subject's face. So now you still have the same 3 light setup, but it's set up in a little bit of a different way to help enhance this subject. So that would be my suggestion with respect to this image and the lighting setup. So I hope that was helpful. So now let's talk about the pose. With respect to the pose, for the most part, this pose is fine. The only thing I would suggest is with respect to the position of her head. So right now, our head is in this position, and then our eyes is back to the camera. So it appears to be a little bit strained. So the only thing I would suggest is just to bring our head around just a little bit so our eyes connect a little bit more to the camera so it doesn't appear to be so strained. So that would be the one thing I would suggest with respect to her head position. So the other thing that I noticed when I'm looking at this image and analyzing it just a little bit more with respect to the pose is I would suggest just dropping her left shoulder down just a little bit, and it will help elongate her neck, which will help just make it appear to be a little bit more elegant. So that will be the only other thing that I would suggest with respect to the pose. So now let's move on to the composition. With respect to the composition, I think you did a pretty good job. There's not much more I could add to it, so I will move on. Now let's talk about one last item, and that is the expression on the subject. The expression on the subjects appear to be a little bit neutral. It appears to be more of like a test shot as opposed to a more deliberate shot. One thing I would suggest is there's a photographer by the name of Peter Hurley. If you don't know Peter Hurley, he's a very well-known photographer in the industry, and he does some amazing headshots. So forgetting the headshots for a minute. The reason I bring up Peter Hurley is for one reason, and that is he has an amazing ability to bring out the personality in people. If you ever have a chance, you should look him up. He has tutorials, he has all these wonderful things, and you will see how he works and how he pulls out the personality in people. So for this image, I'm not really getting a sense of who this person is, who this subject is. It just feels to be a little bit more of a snapshot. So my suggestion would be work a little bit more with the subject to try to help bring out that personality, or try to bring out whatever it is that you're trying to go for with respect to the image. If you're trying to portray, sadness, happiness, whatever it is that you're trying to portray, you need to help that subject with bringing out that expression that you're looking for. If that subject don't know how to bring it out on their own, you need to find a way to help bring that expression out of that subject. All right, so let's get on to the rating of this image. Lighting, I gave this image a 2. The pose, I gave this image a 3. Composition, I gave this image a 4. Expression, I gave this image a 2. Overall, this image received a rating of 2.75 out of 5. So I want to thank the image creator for submitting his image. Thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate it. I hope you got some great feedback from this critique. And to you, the viewers, I hope you got some great information from it as well. If you guys enjoyed this video and you got some information from it, please hit that thumbs up button. Please share this video with your friends and family. And please put some comments down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agreed with some of my suggestions, or if you have some helpful suggestions of your own in addition to what I already said. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, so please drop those comments down below. This is a learning experience. My goal here is to help the image creator and also hopefully help you guys in the process. So just as a reminder, these video critiques are published every Monday, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you get notified every Monday when these videos are released. Also, we have tons of full-length photography videos on this channel about posing, lighting, composition. So subscribe if you want to see more. So that's it, guys. I'll see you next Monday.